Yo guys, Spiderbot here, and I don't know if you noticed this or not, but I sure did when I first started playing Die Rise. I noticed these symbols that are located above the freight elevator in the spawn area, and I always wondered what they were, and always thought, hey, I'll come back to it when I have a bit more time, since we're concerned with other map discoveries and the Easter eggs. So I'm finally coming back to it. Now, I'm still not entirely convinced as to what these are. Now, there is one school of thought that suggests this image represents Chinese Braille. Braille typically is a series of 3 dots down and 2 across, and is for blind people to be able to read, right? So you have these the series of 6 dots, and depending on which dots are raised, you run your finger over it, and people can use that to read, and it denotes a letter. Now, when I first started pursuing this, I'm looking at the number of rows we have and columns, and we're 5 across and 8 down. Well, that doesn't fit into a 3x2 grid. You can't split up a 3x2. Not only can you not split that up going across, but you cannot split that up going down. Now, if you continue to look at Braille systems, there is also an 8-dot Braille system. The 8-dot Braille system is 4 rows of 2. That would fit vertically, right? If we look at, we do have 8 rows, so that would denote 2 characters, one at the top, one at the bottom. But then if you start going across, we have a half character. We're left with 4 dots, or 4 possible dots, and we're missing the other 4. So that doesn't make sense. So while I was researching this, I came across a post over on callofduty.com, and I'll put a link in the description. And they talked about, and this, if you look at the image and look at the top row and the bottom row, it's identical. So what the person who posted, Stuprator, suggested was removing those 2 rows, that perhaps possibly it's just like placeholder, or to denote that contained within that top row and bottom row is the Braille that we're looking at. Okay, so then he split it up. Now that fits more with the 6-dot system vertically. It still doesn't fit horizontally because we still have 5 rows. So what he did was translate the first 2 characters and then made an assumption that the 3rd character was only made up of 1 column, and you could translate it to a tone or a number. And I'm going to show you the Chinese a Chinese translation chart, and it's actually called pinyin that you translate it to. And we're gonna translate it based on that theory. But again, after we translate it, I'll discuss why I have reservations that it is in fact a correct translation. I mean, it may in fact be, but there are some things that sort of stick out that tell me, we're doing something wrong here. All right, so let's take a look. Okay, so here's the Braille translation chart set beside the image that we're looking at. So if we take away the top row and the bottom row, then we're left with this image. All right, so let's take a look at the first character. If we translate it from Braille to pinyin, we get you, Y-U-E. Sorry about that. The next one we get is ying, as in yin and yang, ying, Y-I-N-G. The 3rd character, again, assuming we don't have the second row, or the second column, sorry, not row, second column of dots, we have a 4. Going down to the second row of dots, so we've got A, and then Y, W-A-I, and then a 1. So with this conversion, with this phrase, we have yu, ying, 4, A, Y, 1. So now that we have the pinyin, we have this pinyin phrase. If, let's try and convert it to English. Well, in the thread that I posted in the description, the gentleman converts it or translates it to "for a shadow of the moon outside 1." So the 4 and 1 really don't mean anything. It's not taken into the translation. Again, I don't really like that. There's something missing here, perhaps. Okay, so a shadow of the moon outside. Now, when I convert it, if I go to there's a pinyin to English conversion, or Chinese to English conversion, and yu translates to moon, Y translates to outside, but my translation for ying is to win. So I'm not sure. I did post a response in that thread to ask, well, how did you convert ying to shadow? So we're not sure yet. Anyways, So a shadow of the moon outside. If you do some searches for a shadow of the moon outside, the thread suggests that this links to a Japanese book called 12 Kingdoms, Shadow of the Moon, A Sea of Shadows. I'll post a link to that book for you. So, the theory is perhaps that we're going to Japan in the next map because this is a Japanese book and it talks about the moon being in the shadow of the moon. People are coming to some conclusions about the being about water because, I mean, the shadow of the moon doesn't impact water, but the gravity can impact water, like the tides, right? But also, if you search for shadow of the moon, you get, or shadow of the moon outside, you get a documentary called In the Shadow of the Moon. And it's described as In the Shadow of the Moon brings together for the first and very possibly the last time surviving crew members from every single Apollo mission which flew to the moon and allows them to tell their story in their own words. I'll post another link in the description to this documentary. We still don't have a fit for this outside, but hey, it's In the Shadow of the Moon, both for the documentary as well as the Japanese book. Okay, so here's, though, why I'm sort of not convinced, and maybe I can get some help from you guys in the community to look at this. I mean, number one, again, the grid doesn't match. It really doesn't match a Braille system, a 6-dot Braille system, an 8-dot Braille system. You've got 5 by 8. It doesn't fit into a typical Braille pattern. The other thing that really leads me to believe that it's possibly something else is it's not just a dot. These are ovals that have a circular shape cut out of them, and some of them have this circular shape cut out left of center, and some of them have it cut out right of center. Which, if we do a strict Braille translation like we have, that really doesn't mean anything, but I can't believe that the position of those cutouts in that oval shape is meaningless. You know what I mean? I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. As for myself, I'm going to continue looking and trying to find alternative answers to what these symbols mean and what it represents. And in the meantime, I want to bring it to you, present the theories that the community has developed here, and also come to you so that more of you see this and more of you think about it, and perhaps somebody out there has seen something similar to this. Maybe it has no meaning at all, but I don't know. It looks pretty specific, and it looks like it's trying to tell us something. It's saying, "Spider bite, play some more die rise." Nah, I don't think it's saying that, but Anyways, if you guys have any thoughts, please leave a comment. We can have a discussion in the video comments area, and hopefully we can come up with something that fits a little bit better than that Braille translation. Again, it could very well be, in fact, that Braille translation, but I don't like to leave something that doesn't fit nicely, and it really bugs me that it doesn't. It burns inside of me saying, no, that doesn't really fit, but it may. And I always leave that open. I will never say that something is never a possibility, because it's always a possibility. All right? So hopefully we can come up with something. Appreciate the help here, guys. I'm Spider and I'm out.